What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Brick Lounge presented by SC Bricks, part two of the interview with our co-founder, Andrew. Welcome, guys. Once again, I am joined with Kip and John.
Hello,
How's it
hello.
going, John?
This is
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
be fun.
and of course, Andrew's here too. It wouldn't be a part two with Andrew without Andrew.
Yeah, I am here too.
Yeah.
I'm excited to continue our conversation.
Yeah, we have so much to talk about.
I love it. I love it. Well, this week, guys, we're just going to jump right back into it. We had so many more questions for Andrew in the origin of SC Bricks, and John and him were sharing such fun stories off air. We wanted to record for a part two. So, John, you want to give us a little recap where we're at?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, it's good to see everybody as usual. Always look forward to spending time with you guys talking Lego. It's a highlight of my day and my life. So I'm excited to talk about really my buddy Andrew and really to dive into the rest of the journey that we've taken together as Lego BFFs and the things that we've been able to accomplish together. So just to kind of recap, the last time we spoke, I think what we finished up with was kind of talking about our origin story about how Lego and how Andrew and I met at the Pick a Brick Wall at the grand opening of the Lego store in Greenville, South Carolina, and subsequently discovered that we wanted to start something. We didn't even know it, and we did. We had our first Lego meeting. Andrew had kind of gotten a head start, had a URL, scbricks.com, and I had the experience to pull a group together, and we were off on this journey, and that's where we left it. We had met in my Lego garage. We had some people come in that we'd approached at the Lego store, and funny thing, Andrew and I, one of the things that we did when we first got started was Andrew created iron-on SC Brick shirts for us. I don't remember if we talked about that in the last episode, but I still have that shirt, and I'm proud of it. It was a random black T-shirt that he made.
It was burned.
It was burned, yeah. It was crooked.
It was not a high quality T-shirt.
No, it was crooked, and it's legendary.
I tried.
Yeah, you did.
I don't iron that much. Okay.
But
I'm just trying to think back to that first meeting because you have John. I don't know if you've talked about it on this show, but you have experience starting organizations from scratch. You worked at startups and that kind of thing. And I did something similar professionally, but I'd never tried to start a social club or anything like that. But I just remember that first meeting, we were like, all right, is anybody going to come to this? Is there anybody else out here who's interested? Because neither one of us had been to any sort of Lego event before.
No.
We didn't know that they were any sort of conventions or gatherings. I had never even heard of that. Had you?
Well,
John?
I had heard the phrase lug, but if you remember, I was calling it lug. And
Loogie.
And I kind of knew about him, but you kind of got me in the direction, and just right off the bat, one of the things that we did is it happened really fast. I got to say, we decided that we wanted to get recognized by Lego. So you had talked about an actual recognized lug, and so you're right. When we met the first time, it wasn't on the radar per se, but it was, we need to put a group together and meet regularly. And, I kind of went back to my instincts and my experience as far as starting a group. And I remember I went online. It was probably after the first or second meeting, but I went online. I looked at the Lego Ambassador Network, and I looked at what the requirements were to be recognized by Lego. As on the Lego Network.
I think it was the first
meeting.
It
was early
that you had that, because you
Wow.
printed out a list of all of these things about Lego that we could talk about.
I had questions.
We would run out of things to say.
Yeah,
like it was a business meeting or something.
I did.
So an agenda.
So let me stop real quick, because this is fascinating to me. So basically, from the word go, becoming recognized was a thing. That's interesting that you were thinking that far ahead.
Well, I think the reason was
when it was, of course, just hanging out, but you guys were already thinking of how can we get recognized, how can
Right
we
off
push
the
this
bat.
thing and motivate this
Yeah.
from the word go. That's incredible,
Yeah,
actually.
and I think it was because Andrew and I knew about the lug bulk, which was, we wanted to be able to get discount from Lego and get lots of brick, and both of us
John,
were.
the first rule, don't talk about
Yeah,
lug
don't
bulk.
talk about lug bulk, true, but that was.
You could Google lug bulk
Yeah, you
later,
could,
But
but,
no discounts, no discounts.
but
It's just you get bulk brick.
you get bulk brick, but our goal was one to like have an official group. So it's funny, I still have that, Andrew. It was I printed up on a piece of paper an agenda for the meeting, and I did introductions. We went around, we introduced ourselves, we talked about our favorite sets, and I think there was 12 people there at our first meeting. It wasn't like a small group, but
and we should paint the picture of people who haven't been in your garage. John has a oversized garage with what, like 14-foot tall walls, 12-foot
12 foot high ceilings,
and it's enough that you could fit people into it. And you have an old couch in there, and he has probably like 500 Lego sets in there on display. It seems like.
Yeah.
When I went to see it the first time, I thought it was the most Lego I've ever seen in my life. So
Isolated
it's a
to one
great
location.
environment. Yeah, it's a great environment to foster like a conversation about Lego, and everybody who was walking in who had never been there before, and most of the people had never been there before the meeting. We had hung out a few times, but I think it was fairly soon that we went ahead and scheduled the first meeting.
Yeah.
But they're all just like, whoa, holy smokes, like look at all this Lego. This Lego. It's like
I had the cafe corner. I had all the modular buildings set
you
up.
had a
Whole city display.
set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since we've known each other, you've obviously worked on it a lot and improved it a lot. And that first meeting, I just remember being nervous that nobody was going to show up. But we ended up meeting a lot of like pretty core people in the group.
Right off the bat.
And we just advertised at the store, and I think I posted it on the local like city subreddit. But then there were also some people who we never saw again.
Yep.
We had one couple that came that we never even saw them again.
And they seemed pretty excited about it when they were there. And
Yeah.
then they dipped out. We never saw them again. But yeah, we had some Lego employees that showed up, if you remember that. And so we had some of
Right.
the local folks that were there. But the thing was, it was
But people showed up.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yeah, people
It's like,
showed up.
oh, there are more people.
Yeah, that's the validation. Having
Exactly.
people actually show up and having a similar, similar interest, but also similar dynamic with you is important.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine that is you
It
guys
was
put on this meeting.
it was reassuring, and
Yeah.
and we realized the AFOL community was here in Greenville, especially with the Lego store there. It was like, okay, we're going to meet more people like this. And the cool thing for us from that meeting was, Andrew's right. Thinking back, we definitely had an agenda of things we wanted to do, and one of the things that
Well, we didn't know what you did at a club meeting like
Right.
that. I'd never
just
been
talked.
to any sort of like Lego meeting before.
So we did know that
this week.
we know that we did have to meet pretty regularly. So Andrew and I
Right.
committed that we were going to do this every month so that we could say we've been meeting every month. And by the way, Andrew, it's been how many years now? Since 2018, and we've been meeting every single month, both online and face to face.
Yeah, during COVID we had to go online, and but we still had meetings.
Every
We still
single
had an
meeting.
active community.
COVID is
So-
when I found you guys.
Yeah, COVID.
A lot of people found Lego, but we're fast forwarding if we're talking
Yeah,
about Lego.
let's slow down on that.
I think, or sorry, about COVID. I think the next most important thing we did together was we found out that they were having a convention up the road
Mhm.
in Charlotte, North Carolina,
That's right.
which is about a 90-minute, and we took a day trip. It was you, me, a guy who used to work at the Lego store and his girlfriend, and another guy named Jamie, who kind of reminds me of like the comic book guy from The Simpsons. He's not a member of our club anymore, but he was a pretty big character. But it was 5 of us in your RAV4.
Yep.
You drove,
Yep,
right?
I drove.
And we just drove up there, and we didn't even really know what to expect. But I think we had a couple meetings at that point. It was fairly early.
Yeah. But once we got
Um,
there, it was our minds were blown. Like none of us had been to a Lego convention before, and it was so
it was
motivating.
a brick
Yeah.
fair
Mm.
in Charlotte. I think the only time they did it in Charlotte, because it later we found out it wasn't a very successful convention. It was kind of dead. But
To us, it
we
was
went on a Saturday too,
yeah.
right? And it was kind of dead.
To us, it
But
was
it's still
amazing.
it blew our mind.
Yeah,
Seeing it.
it was a game
Yeah.
changer. You know?
Yeah, just being like just meeting people there. We met a few very important people to the club there. One of them was a guy who was in the lug in North Carolina named O.C. Newsom.
And they were recognized
Um,
already.
and he was already part of a recognized lug. He had been exhibiting for years. So we ended up learning a lot from him that day. And we also met the other
Andrew Heap.
Andrew in the group, Andrew Heap. And
He'd been trying to start his own club and had not been able to pull it off. And so we were already, I think, ahead of him in the process of meeting regularly and all of that.
he was already displaying at these
Yep.
big conventions though, and that was something that John and I had never even talked about. I guess I knew that they happened, but I didn't know what they did there, or like a Lego vendor, or like I didn't even really know that people made like enormous mocks. Like I had built like a Lego police station, like a one base plate like modular building with an interior, and I probably spent like 2 months on that. But
Yeah.
like these people who were just putting out huge things, and like I remember OC had this like space greenhouse thing that was like
Gigantic.
had all these pieces that I was like, how did you get all of these pieces and he's talking about lug bulk, he's talking about drafts. So I think another thing that's like really been important to SC Bricks are drafts.
Yeah,
And
I would agree with that.
if you are a Lego listener and don't know what a draft is, you basically get a bunch of copies of the same set. We used to have everybody bring in their own set. We've, over the years,
We're much more
we had
advanced now.
members who started putting up money and buying sets and that kind of thing. But you take all the sets, open them up, and basically sort out all the different pieces that are in the set, like pieces in a cup, and then each person takes a turn and picks a whole cup of pieces. So if there is like 3 bananas in a set and you have 5 sets, you get 15 bananas in a cup.
It's a great way to build your inventory.
But once we started doing that, we got some people hooked, I think.
Yeah.
Myself included.
Yeah, I don't think, Andrew, I've ever been to a meeting that you have not participated in the draft. I think every meeting I've been to, you've participated in the draft.
I have a high participation rate for sure.
I will say my first draft was one that was in Clack's garage. And
During
it
COVID?
was it was during COVID, so it was one of those 12
Mask
people
up.
only mask up. And there's no more people allowed after that certain number. And once it was done, you basically got your stuff and ran because we couldn't be close to each other for too long situation.
But we still did it.
Even because like the drafts were so important at the time because we were looking for certain parts, and it was a good way to find them, and it was a great way for the community to just finally start getting back together too. So
I know it's like we're missing. It's like we're fiending for a draft. At least me, I was like, dang, when you're just getting into Lego, and back then I don't know how good Pick a Brick Online was. I think everything probably took a month.
Yeah, it wasn't.
They didn't have this bestseller thing where you could get something the same week. Bricklink was obviously around, but there's just something satisfying about a draft and ripping up all the pieces and sorting them together. It almost feels like you're building a set together.
Well, you're also planning your draft
I
too,
don't
like
plan
planning your parts team.
It's funny now we've gotten to the point where people come with a list of parts that they want to draft because they've
Yeah.
researched the set. They've gone to Bricklink to see which ones are high value parts, and they have it prioritized in terms of what pieces they want to get out of the set, which is just crazy to me.
Or
Quacks
even
like that.
better, John, when people can't make it to the meeting, so they send a list with someone else
Yes.
to do the draft.
Yeah.
Substitute drafter.
Yeah, that's like that's like the call-in auctions.
Yes.
You know, you've got
Yeah. We have an online bidder who's interested in some red 1x2 plates.
Oh yeah. Well, so the drafts were a big deal, and to your point, at that show, Andrew, that we went to,
Yeah, going back to Brick
yeah,
Fair.
it was kind of
Um,
for us. I think at that point we both decided that we wanted to display, that we knew that that was important, and
Yes.
we knew that we were trying to build up our clout in a way that would get us the ability to have a resume, so that we could, you know, earn our recognized status. And so we went for a full year. And one of the rules for applying as recognition is you had to be in existence for 2 years. And we knew that, but we felt like, you know what, let's dip our toe in the water. Well, let's go ahead and apply. We've got a resume that's, you know, we've met every month. We probably had 30 members. At some point during that first year, I convinced everyone to actually have a membership where we were charging people to be members so that we could have a little bit of money, because we were fronting everything at these meetings. And I think we started out at like $10 or $15 just to join for an entire year. Yeah, but it was really to help substantiate the group, and also to kind of weed out the people that weren't really, you know, into it. And so it worked. It worked. Although our first application after a year was denied, the process was, you know, was important. And we got feedback about what we needed to do going forward, and that we needed to be consistent. And so, you know, I don't want to fast forward too much, but
Did they meet with us
no,
and
they
reject
just sent us a
us?
letter.
No, they sent us a letter. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a sweet
But
rejection letter.
one thing about Lego is they reject most everybody.
Yes, we did
So
not know that.
We didn't know that when we applied. We're like, there's no group in South Carolina. There's one in North Carolina. There's one in Georgia. Sure, they'll let us
That's
in.
right.
But that we didn't know how fickle they really were.
Yeah. So
But that's for part 3 or part 4.
well, I think we can get into
the
that.
history
We'll get
of
into
the
a little bit,
Bricks.
but yeah. Over that next second year, that's when I think really the group started to form its culture, its community. Like Andrew and I, we worked together to put a amazing display. Like we combined my landscaping, my trees, his buildings, and we sat in my garage and we constructed this. And I think it was for the Alabama show, or which show was it?
I actually did 2 back-to-back.
Yeah.
You weren't able to go to Alabama, but Brick Universe in Augusta, Georgia.
Yes.
When it was over like Thanksgiving break or something, that we just
And you
set it up.
You had a banner
And that was the
made.
biggest thing we could do in your garage. It was 2 tables.
Yep, 2 6-foot tables. It was pretty big, and it was impressive.
And I was like, man, this is huge.
Yeah, it felt big. And I remember at the show, the one you went by yourself the first. I think you and Hunter went, and then the next time I was with you, and we really
No,
shined.
Hunter didn't come until the next day. I had to set up everything by myself. And then you came the next day for the public display.
Yeah.
And we're like just talking to everybody, like, yeah, this is my thing. It's so great. And I'm just like, dude, I set this up for an hour.
Yeah, it was a lot of work because we did the whole minifig. Like one of the things that I think Andrew and I have always been good at is at creating scenes. You know, the vignettes with minifigures, and not just putting buildings up, but putting everything around them that makes them fun to look at. So there's so much eye candy. But that show, you know, thinking back, I think it really solidified for us that we wanted to do more and more shows, and that we knew that we needed other people to participate in it, because Andrew and I couldn't build enough to display, but we knew that if we could get other people involved, that would not only grow the group, but the displays would just be more amazing. And so we went to work at doing that. We started sharing pictures. We started letting people know. We started looking at other events to attend. And I think we got a banner. We had some business cards.
Had a
printed.
banner for the first show.
Yep.
And it was like an army of one.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
had the scbricks.com banner. And then I went to Brick Fair, Alabama, which no longer exists, but was a much bigger show than the Charlotte show. And I was the only person I knew there besides OC, who I talked about earlier from North Carolina, was there. But met a bunch of people in they used to be called Dixie Lug back then, in the Georgia Lug.
Now they're Peach Lug.
And some other people that I'm still friends with, still see at conventions, all these years later.
Yeah.
The new Hashima guys, that was the first year they ever displayed that. It was only like 3 feet by 3 feet, I think. And then Matt Gunning, that's when I met him. He's now the ambassador of Peach Lug.
And Dana,
which
we
was
met Dana then.
No, Dana wasn't there.
He was in one of them, wasn't he?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we met him online.
Okay.
But eventually, at these conventions and stuff, you start to network and learn more about. And you can pick people's brains about how their groups operate, because they're all very different.
Yeah.
Honestly, like North Carolina doesn't meet every month; they meet like quarterly or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't.
And they're split up.
And then
they're kind of like two groups.
Same thing with Georgia; they don't meet every month in person either. They meet every other month.
Yeah, we held it to the letter of the law. Like that was every month we made sure that we met, and we looked at it as an opportunity to grow the group, to solidify the membership, to just the funny thing was in year 2, after going through all the experiences, we resubmitted our application to the Lug Bowl or to the land. And we didn't know this until afterwards, but after we submitted our application, they joined our Discord group and our Facebook group, and they kind of like infiltrated us. And they watched us. They watched us for a couple months to see what the group was about. They wanted to make sure that we weren't like doing Lego leaks. And we ended up getting accepted after our second application. And we found out at that time that there was like 300 or 400. I mean, it was hundreds of people that applied, and we were in the top 3. And so we got selected the second time for recognition, and that was a huge moment for all of us. It really put us on the map.
What year was that, John?
That was in 2020.
20?
Yeah.
Okay.
2020, and I still have the letter somewhere, but for the exact date that we got it. But we submitted it. I want to say we submitted it in September, and then it was a couple 2-3 months before we got our actual acceptance. And then once we got accepted, I stepped into the ambassador role, and we just went. We started, growing the group with that R in front of it, which gave us all kinds of ability to kind of flex at shows and to really substantiated our effort over the last few years, because
it shows up when you search for a group. If you're savvy enough to try to find a lug, some people might move and other things like that. If you're savvy enough to try to find on lego.com, you could find SC Bricks.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing too. And then with that, we were also able to start having little displays in the Lego store.
Yep.
And we could put a business card in a Lego store, and if you noticed it, we've probably had a dozen or so things displayed there.
Yeah.
Right.
It's one of the that was my first exposure to SC
That's how you
Bricks,
saw
was
it?
through the
Okay.
Lego store.
Yep.
Yeah.
A display in the a display in one of the cases was the first time.
Andrew had
And
the
you were
first
probably
one.
like, wait, what? What's that? Who is
Yeah,
this?
blew my
Who
mind.
made this cool thing?
Yeah, it made me fall down the rabbit hole and discover Columbia Brick Con, and then here we are now.
Sorry.
But I do want to circle back and touch on the consistency, because applying for registered lug and getting it within 2 years is an incredible feat. And I know this, I know this group, and it does not surprise me in the slightest with the dedication and motivation that you two, but also everyone else that is currently a member has. But the consistency of meeting every month and pointing out the fact that peers of ours don't do that. It's not a commonplace thing to meet as consistently as we do. And that is something that, from my perspective, was crucial to the growth to where we are now, that you guys created. So, for me personally, that's something that I look forward to. I
every month.
plan. Kip and I joke around. We plan our Greenville trips around when the meeting is. Go to the Lego
Yep.
store, go to the meeting, go to Bricks and Mini Fit. We
Exactly.
it's a routine.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and
and I'm always excited when I see somebody that hasn't been at the meeting in a while.
Yeah.
Because with me being from, Kip and I being from Columbia, it's a drive, but we make a p- I I'm not going to speak for Kip, but I make a point of it. It's like it has to
Yeah.
happen, unless I'm out of town, I'm going to be
Oh
there.
yeah,
You know.
exactly. And
yeah.
it's almost a ritual now.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Well, the
Yeah.
neat thing about that is that we have had, at this point, I can safely say hundreds of people have attended our meetings over the years. Hundreds. Many of them are still participants in the group. Um, but to your point, Eric, it's so neat to see people that stay connected. I mean, Lego's an interesting hobby because a lot of people come and go in the hobby. They get into it and then they dip out. But there has been a very strong core group of individuals that have been with us really since the beginning. And because of those people, we have taken this Lego user group to the next level. I mean, we've now, and just for the sake of time, I'll kind of jump through quickly some of the important points that and Andrew, please jump in at any point. But after we were recognized, we had 3 years of membership as a recognized community, and during that time, we went to multiple shows. Every time we did a show, our displays got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and more people started displaying.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
Let's talk about Brick Fair, Virginia, really quick.
Oh, yes.
When we
Oh,
went to that,
that was so
and
fun.
one more thing about Brick Fair, Alabama, that first year is I actually got on Beyond the Brick.
Right
Oh,
off the
Didn't even
bat.
know what it was, but I saw these guys walking around with a microphone, and it's like I just kind of looked into it. They put my city on their Facebook page or something, and somebody was like, "Did you see that was on Facebook page?" And I went over to talk to him. Was like, "Hey, can we make a video?" Which I didn't really really know was like
We named your city.
not something you usually ask for.
Right, and we had
for
to
those guys.
we had to come up with a name for our city, your city, it was the Pick a Brick City, because
Pick a Brick
all the
City.
buildings and all of the displays and everything were built from the Pick a Brick wall, and so we called our display the Pick a Brick City. But yeah,
Yep.
let's talk about Brick Fair, Virginia. Oof.
So yeah, but anyways, it was pretty cool to be. That was another thing that we could be like, hey, look at this video. This is something that the group I could show my like parents and stuff like that, because I couldn't make like a good quality video like that, and it kind of like justifies like, oh, you're spending all your time making these stupid Lego buildings or whatever. You can be like, look at this. These people have 1 million subscribers and they put me on
it's
YouTube.
recognized. Yeah.
Yeah,
It goes
yeah,
back to instant the recognition.
Yeah.
You feel validated.
right. That was a big deal
Yeah.
Yeah.
for me, at least in my Lego life, and I don't know, in the club too, probably, because it motivated me to keep doing that and to go to more conventions and be even cooler with what we display. Anyway, so me and John were like, all right,
We're
we're
going
gonna go to
for
Brick
it.
Fair, Virginia. That one's the much bigger convention. That's the biggest convention that Brick Fair does.
Mhm.
There are 1,000 people exhibiting. And we went right at the end of, what year was that? 2022?
2021.
2021?
21.
2021?
Yeah.
I remember
Mhm.
giving you a couple of my pieces to take with you.
That
Yeah.
was a ginormous display. Like I remember, first of all, we had a tragedy getting there because we rented
We had
yeah, we rented a trailer, and Andrew and I drove there, and like every time we got a bump, we would cringe. But by the time we got there, we had to walk all the way across this huge 100,000 square foot hall with all our boxes, with everything. And when we got there, most of Andrew's buildings had collapsed. And it
Ooh.
was
we didn't know that you were supposed to get there the day before.
right.
Everybody else had already set
Yeah,
up.
so we got
Yeah.
there literally the day up, and
Yeah.
every box we opened up, it was like we would look and you'd open up the box and everything would be at the bottom. And Andrew,
Yeah,
you could
just a box of
just
parts.
a box of
And
parts. And these buildings
yeah,
were intricate. I mean, they were all made out
uh,
of 1x2 bricks. Everything. And so,
I
it was
and I had never had a building break
yeah.
before because they all just sit. Before that, they'd all
And
fit
they
in the
weren't
back
on
of my
mills.
wife's SUV.
At that point, we weren't
None of them were
millsing.
on Mills
Yeah.
plates.
So I remember, like, first of all, I felt horrible because my buildings and stuff didn't break.
John had everything perfectly
Yeah,
packed
everything came through.
in plastic boxes with towels and everything. You know, none of yours, all
Nothing.
of your stuff was modular and broke down, and you were smart and like it was pretty much square and solid. And I had this one tower that was 3 feet tall, had a staircase, a working minifig staircase going through the entire interior, each floor separated, and it was all made by 1x2s.
Yes.
And it was not a square; it was like a
Super
strange
detailed.
design.
Yeah.
And I just transported it all together in a freaking trailer with no suspension.
Yeah. And so
And it just like
Crunch.
it imploded on itself, basically.
yeah, so when we got there, I remember thinking to myself, that we had so much work to do. We were putting a train track. Our display was 32 feet long. It was the
Yeah,
longest and the biggest contiguous display in the entire Brickford. Not a single, and it was just me and Andrew. And to your point, Kip,
yeah, 2 people
yeah,
putting
it was
it
just
together.
us
We kept
two.
telling people that it's just
It's
us
just us
two.
two. It's just us two. And they were like, wow. So I remember I was like, Andrew, I will put everything I can together. You just sit there and build. So I have some great
Rebuild.
pictures of Andrew just sitting there for hours building while
Building like mad.
I'm sweating. I'm moving tables around. I'm moving tablecloths. I kept grabbing tables because our displays kept getting bigger and bigger and
We
bigger. And I
yeah, we probably had like 15 tables or
totally.
something like
And I
that.
told Andrew, I
Yeah.
was like, Andrew, when are we ever going to have a chance to build this much Lego in one place? Like, we're probably never going to have this chance again.
Little
We
did
have
you
to go
know.
big. So now we do. So we just built and built and built and built. And Andrew, like, to his credit, he rebuilt every one of his buildings to their
Now, one of
original.
them didn't make it back,
Well,
and it's still dead.
is it?
But most of them
Yeah.
made it back.
And it was amazing. The event gave us so much exposure. We at the time the Lego Masters show was there, so there were Lego Masters there. We got to meet so many
The first
people.
season,
Yep,
yeah.
the first season was out. And we met Emmanuel Garcia and his dad. There was a handful of people. The guy that I can't remember his name, but the one that runs the whole breakfast, he hung out with us. People were enthralled. Yeah,
Todd.
Todd. They were enthralled with our design. Like we had, and by the way,
And they couldn't believe that we did it with 2
right.
people. And then I think this is a good thing to highlight because we were just like exhausted, especially with rebuilding everything. We were like, we gotta do this with more people next time. Like this big, but 10, 15 people,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
And I also got nominated for best buildings.
Yeah.
So that was cool
Yep.
too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very
And then
nice.
we had these little trophies that people put on our displays. You know, like some of the people would
Yeah,
go
little
around and
tokens.
give us little awards and stuff. So it was really motivating. You know, for Andrew and I think it was a pivotal point in our Lego journey because to his point, we realized like we should do a lot more of this, and we need to go back and get everybody involved in this. We need everybody participating.
And since that was a convention with everyone from around the country, it wasn't like North Carolina where we were very inspired by the people, but there were probably like, I don't know, maybe like 50 people displaying at that. What do you think, John? Probably
At Brick Fair, Virginia.
versus no, at Brick Fair
Oh yeah.
that we were
Yeah.
talking about.
Versus
It was
hundreds.
it's fairly small
Yeah.
versus 1,000 people.
Right. Plus
This is the first one
plus all the
since
vendors,
COVID.
plus all the
Yeah.
activities that they
And
did.
so we met everybody there. We talked to everybody. We talked to all of these lugs that have been around for decades. I remember this guy from iLug New York showed us this enormous bin he had of green 2x4s. He's like, yeah, Lego sent us these. We're
Like,
just
what?
like, what? Like, that's $1 million worth of green 2x4s, and they just send it to you. Like each time you expand from your own little community and realize what's possible, you know, we're talking about being able to put our own kits out or you know, collaborating with the community. Like we learned all of that by going to these these bigger conventions, and I think that was really important in the SC Bricks journey.
Yeah.
To the
And
point
Clack came with us
to
too.
that
Yeah,
point
Clack
as
showed
well,
up. He
we're
did
also about to collaborate with another lug at Atlanta next year on something, if I remember correctly, about us talking about that. We really
Yeah.
need to get on top of that.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. So
Well, we have their numbers now. At
yeah,
least.
they know us, we know them. So I think the thing to
Hopefully they're listening to this.
right. The thing to think about going forward with us was after, we went through a period of, I would say 3 years where, we did lug bulk, we all expanded our Lego collections, we were going to multiple shows around the Southeast,
Hosting our own
membership.
shows.
We started our
Feeding
own
off of
shows.
each other.
Yeah, Kip, you started Columbia BrickCon, which is now a flagship, convention for the group. We actually got to 60 to 70 paid members. Then we got to 100 paid members. Then we got to 120 paid members, and the group kept growing and growing and doing all these different conventions. And one after the other, we started, you know. Like, okay, now this month we're going to do this event. Now this month we're going to do this event, and everyone was excited about building. And so I'll throw this out there because it's part of our story, but it's not the most awesome part. Is 3 years into our journey with the Lego Ambassador Network, we learned about Lego's true requirements for participation and the ambassador role. And unfortunately, in 2023. After 3 years of being in the land, we were exited, excommunicado. We were exited from the land.
Literally in the middle of a show that we were
in the
hosting.
middle of a show.
We were hosting an event to promote their toy.
Yeah, and we were at that point, we had the most members we had ever had. Like, we were cooking with grease. I mean, our group was growing, and we get this email in the middle of the show that said, "Hey, thanks, but you guys are out of the land. Apply next year. Reapply next year."
No, they didn't say that. They didn't tell us that we were kicked out yet. They just told us they needed to talk to
Yeah,
us.
I think we knew at that point. Yeah.
Which never is good.
That's never good. That's never.
So, I mean, there's
Hey, can we talk whenever you get a second?
so yeah, that's
At 7 a.m. in the
Right.
morning or
Yeah,
whatever they
it was a 7 a.m. call, I believe, maybe 6.
But no, they're just like, can you schedule a call with you? We need to talk to you about your staff.
yeah, and so
Which is like a gut
it
punch.
was a gut
Yeah.
punch. It was
We don't
it
need-
was a big gut punch. We won't dive too much into that, but let me just say
we
this.
don't need to make John
Yeah.
cry on the air.
Let's talk about what
But-
came out of that, because I think that's probably more important, is the fact that since that time, and we've reapplied, and we're hoping that at the end of the year we'll be back in. But after that happened, I remember thinking, this is going to crush the club, and we're not going to be able to continue on in the way we are. But the exact opposite happened. That the community rallied, that the community recognized that it wasn't just about being recognized by Lego, it was what we had built, and the hundreds of people that we had impacted, the people that were part of the group. We had a board, we had gotten recognized as a 501c37, which was a nonprofit a club, so
Social club. Yeah.
We had taken some real steps to formalize our group and create, a legitimate community. We had, president, vice president, treasurer. We had money from shows. We were doing
Right.
multiple events. The group was just really growing. And since that time, I'm very proud to say that, not only have we continued on, in my opinion, SC Bricks has gotten stronger, and we've gotten the community has really blossomed in spite of not having the recognition. So would you guys agree with that?
Oh,
Because you
yeah.
guys have all been here since then.
Oh yeah, I remember the gut
One-
punch. Sitting there talking with you in that suite.
It felt like we got dumb.
Yeah.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah, pretty much.
What was
We're
that?
like, what did we do wrong to you? To make you so mad?
So, no, I could not agree more. I mean, you guys have all on this on this episode have heard me say this at one time or another, but I came into SC Bricks shortly before the event.
Yeah.
Right before it, really? So you've never been able to participate in lug bulk? or
No,
anything?
no,
Oh, I'm
no.
sorry.
Yeah, I came in right before. And but the thing is, that was not I joined the club not for any of those perks or benefits. I joined before I even knew those perks or benefits were a thing. So it did not hit me in the same way as you guys, nor should it, because you were the founders, you'd been through it for the entire time. But I could not agree more that from what I know and the people I've met in this group, you guys included, it's been go, go, go this entire time.
Mhm.
I feel like I've been a part of this organization and this group for years. And in reality, I'm a year and a half in.
Really, that's all. It all blends
It
together.
really
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
blend
It-
together. I
I
couldn't
mean,
even.
I'm a year and a half in, and here I am hosting a podcast with you guys. I mean,
And I'm 3 years into a show put on in Columbia, South Carolina, with the help of SC Bricks, because Lord knows, John, you can attest to this. When I said I wanted to do a show in Columbia, I did not want it to be my show. I wanted it to be an SC Bricks show,
Yeah.
and I wanted it to be there because I wanted to find more people in Columbia that wanted to be a part of a Lego community. And that's why I put the
Right.
show together. And lo and behold, here's Eric talking about his story and finding
Right.
us through Columbia BrickCon. So
I can't
Yeah.
I can't even I can't even imagine how many people have found us through that show, Kip. I mean, I can name some people, but just generally speaking, I would say, 20% of our membership is from that show, is from maybe even more, and that event. And now it is an SC Bricks event. It's we put money into it. The last one we had last year was our biggest event. We had no problem filling the entire space up with Lego. I mean, we had so many displayers, we had vendors, legit. You know what I mean? It
Yep.
was a big deal. So,
Right.
and
Emulating what we've learned at those conventions that
Yeah.
we've been
Mhm.
talking
yeah,
about. I think another important thing that you're talking about the community is the rise of these secondhand shops. In the first episode, I talked a little bit about Atlanta Brick Co.
mhm,
Yeah.
And now the Bricks and Minifigs has started to expand out all the way to South Carolina,
Mhm.
and the Brick Zone is another one that recently opened up in Kip and Eric's area. But having those mom and pop kind of stores, they don't have the rigid rules that Lego has about letting us keep a business card there, or Bricks and Minifigs lets us have a permanent
a
display. I mean,
large
it's
display.
the Pick a Brick City original, masterpiece could fit there and be permanently on display. I mean, that's amazing for us to have these spaces there, that other AFOLs can find us.
Yeah.
That by just having a billboard in them is
yeah.
huge.
And now
Um,
it's a perk
And
for members because we've been able every month or every
right,
few months, I should say,
Every
we
couple
let
months.
somebody else display. Yeah. Or every
Mhm.
right,
quarter ish, we're letting somebody else put a huge display. And that's just, again, one of the perks of the club is we built these relationships is people want to see all of our work, and
right.
and they love seeing it, and it helps to grow the community. So build, inspire, create,
Yeah.
right?
It's so fun to
Yeah.
go into Bricks and Minifigs and talk with Kyle and Rebecca and plan out who's going in next, because that's one
Mhm.
of the things I'm involved in, is to make sure that we have a continuous flow of.
And it's a great benefit to
Yeah,
them too. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's like a world-class display
for free.
that we loan them for free.
Yeah.
We just ask for a banner on our business cards to be put
And
up.
they're nice enough to give us our
Versus
discount too, which is really, that comes in
right,
handy when you spend like some of us do.
right.
The relationship has been a great relationship.
Yes, it has.
And
It just
we're going to continue to build those with other stores as well.
And we wouldn't have
absolutely.
it
And
without this club, without
Yeah.
this community that y'all
no,
started.
no.
No, you can't just go in there and say, "Hey, I'm some guy. Can I put my Lego in your store, please?"
Without selling it.
Well, the dynamic of that creates a culture within of itself that continues to spread. That's one of the things the Lego community in general has never ceased to amaze me, is the collaborative nature of it, and building building communities beyond the plastic brick. One of the core tenets of starting this podcast was that John, Kip, and I talked about was everyone gets the chance to tell their story. Everyone has a story to tell. Everyone comes from someplace, and we want to hear that type of passion, and it only continues to grow and inspire others. It inspires me every single day. Every time I talk to one of our members and learn something new about their history, not even Lego related, it inspires me. You know,
Yeah.
we have small business owners. We have people that own their own businesses. I'm terrified. That scares the crap out of me, man. Inspires me. You know, it's incredible. It's just the daily things that we do and being united around this one individual toy that reminds us of our childhood and causes us to build something bigger than us is astounding.
Yeah.
And you get into a group think mode,
Yeah.
and you get into a keep up with the Joneses mode, and you get up with
Little
a
FOMO
deal,
going on.
a deal sharing mode and a FOMO sharing mode. And I was just thinking, John, had you had a Bricklink store before we
I
met,
did.
right?
I was a purchaser. I wasn't a seller.
Oh no, you hadn't never
I'd never
sold
sold.
anything, because I wanted to say
I
that you
did. I
didn't
had
sell
one
anything
season
until
of
I told you
selling.
to sell stuff.
I never sold. I never traded before I met you. You introduced. I used to.
You never had
I never
John,
traded
this
a
man,
single
when I
brick.
met him, he did not get rid of the plastic bags that come in the
That's
set.
true.
Kept them
I
all
was
when
the
he
same
built
way
it.
when I
Put them
got
back in the
into it.
box.
Oh
You
my
guys
gosh.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
He ironed them out and put them back in
If I was
the
going to
box.
resell them, I was going to put them back in the same numbered bags.
Yeah, because that really
Right.
adds to the value. Just
I
to
had
make
no
sure you
idea.
have
I
the
just
original
assumed it did.
plastic bag.
Stupid.
You know, it's
Stupid.
Ridiculous.
But yeah,
Uh,
I was just gonna say that we all feed off of each other, and like
Yeah.
John built a big skyscraper, and Kip's now is about to build skyscrapers that are taller than
2 or
are they
3
taller?
times. Yeah, his skyscraper
I've
is
got
what
one
makes
that's
my
4 foot
skyscraper look
Yeah.
like nothing.
and was 4'3" right now.
Well, I have some work to do, Kip.
Yeah,
I
That's what
did
you're
find
telling
out
me.
that Rusty's Avengers Tower is like 5'3", so he's got me beat by a little
His
bit.
mock.
Well,
You'll be there.
you got a ways to
Yeah,
go.
I've already
and
planned
It's,
the next
it's
2.
modular
I've
anyway.
already planned the next 2 anyway. So
So
well, you'll have to tell me about that at the meeting.
so Andrew, we're going to be coming up here on our time here in just a minute
Mhm.
together,
Yeah.
which we could continue to just talk about this stuff because we love it. But let me ask you a question. So, you know, you and I have been on this journey together. We've had highs and lows. Like I said up front, I consider you one of my best friends, my best Lego friends. We've accomplished something together that most people don't, building a community from scratch around a toy. We've been recognized, we've been unrecognized, we've won awards together. We've done all kinds of fun things, and I'm looking forward now, looking toward the future of SC Bricks. And for those of you that aren't part of the club or don't know, we are a thriving community at this point. I mean, we have, we're sitting here doing this podcast. We've got a YouTube channel. We've got members all around the Southeast. We meet every month online. We meet every month face to face. We have an active Discord group. We have a Facebook group, et cetera, et cetera. We have T-shirts. We have jackets. We have stickers. We have tiles. We have everything.
more swag to come.
Yeah, more swag to come. What do you think the future is for us, Andrew? Where do you see us in like a couple years, 2-3 years?
I really think that the main way that we're going to be able to grow as a club from going forward is through these expos the shows that we were talking about. People come and go from attending the meeting. You have your hardcore people, like the people on this podcast right now, who try to go to every show, but there are people will get into Lego, they'll get out of Lego. There's going to be a subset of people who show up to the meetings. There's going to be a smaller subset of that who actually want to exhibit at these shows that we're putting on, and there's an even smaller subset of that will be wanting to just exhibit at every show that we put on. So it's really about trying to do a bigger and better show so we can get people who are those hardcore people from other clubs to come through, so we can grow enough to have a regional show. That would be my ultimate goal. It's like looking at what they've done with the Atlanta BrickCon and having a regional show, kind of replace the Brick Fair Alabama. But I would like SC Bricks to be at that level, to have the whole convention center rented out and have call in all of our friends and have an awesome convention that we sponsor. We're probably just one of those here, but that would be my ultimate goal for. And I don't know if I'm not signing myself up to run that, by the way.
Well, no, you know what? The good news is we actually have committees now. We've got everything's better with the team, right? From Lego movie.
Everything's awesome.
Everything's awesome, and we've got teams. We've got committees that are.
I'm on the BrickCon committee team.
BrickCon committee.
I'm the leader of it.
All right, you're
so
in charge of that, Kip.
Telling me what we need already.
Get that
So,
going.
Yeah.
But starting from like not even being able to afford to like buy pizza for the group to having like being a real nonprofit, having a bank account. Our last Columbia show, we were able to give everybody
Lunch, dinner,
food
donuts,
the whole
everything
time for free, and like a lot of food, not just like a cheese pizza that we fought over. Being able to have these drafts set up, doing community outreach. That's another thing I want to work on. It's just getting more involved with the community. We keep talking about like FIRST Robotics and stuff like that, the Lego Robotics League, and we just haven't done it. There's so many things you could do with Lego. That's why it's the best.
Yeah.
And we really need to get somebody to do more Technic stuff in our club to get
more motion.
great ball contraption.
GBC.
Yeah.
I'm forever tempted by a GBC, but I've never.
You and me both, Eric.
We'll talk
that's
about
fascinating stuff.
one as well.
We'll talk about that.
Well, I would say, suffice to say, Andrew, we've got a lot to look forward to, and there's a lot of building to be done still.
It is definitely the highlight of my month.
Literally and metaphorically, John.
Yeah, to get together with you guys, to see you guys. I see you more than most of my other friends. As you get older, I don't have scheduled hangout times once a month with all of my friends, but I do with you guys, and I love that, and I love seeing you guys, and there's always something to talk about. So hopefully we can continue for many more years.
Yeah, same.
And leave a legacy that can go past.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A Lego legacy. Well, I know my kids are going to either hate me or love me. The amount of Lego that I'm going to leave them.
Oh, gotta love it. All right. Well, Andrew, this is about as good a place as any, but thank you so much for being the first guest on this interview series for the Brick Lounge. I've got nothing left. I think we're ending this on a perfect note with the future of SC Bricks. We started with the introducing Andrew, the past, the origins of SC Bricks, and now we're pushing towards the future. So bigger and brighter.
That's right.
Kip, John, anything you want to add?
It's been a pleasure talking to you this past couple of times, and I know we'll have more to talk about here in the future. So look forward to it.
Yeah, we can maybe in a year or two we'll do part 3.
Yeah. Well, the story continues. I mean, this podcast is a big part of our. This podcast is a big part of our future together, and whether we have 10 listeners or thousands of listeners, it's just fun to get together and hang out and talk Lego and socialize our passion. And so I'm looking forward to many, many more.
Yeah, and the goal for this is to become the unofficial historical record of SC Bricks.
Yep.
I will say too that like John, when you first met, when you were at the Lego store, when you were packing white 2x4 bricks or 2x2, whatever it was, to make the clouds for your city, that we have come a very long way, and that we've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, which was to make friends that I knew in real life who like Lego and talk about Lego.
Yeah.
I talk about Lego every day with you.
It's true.
And that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
So
goal accomplished. Now it's like
it's absolutely. And all this other stuff is just gravy on top of it.
Just icing on the cake at that point. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's I'm glad you mentioned that. It's just getting back to the core of the goal is having someone that you can relate to, having someone you can talk to, a shared passion. And that's, as long as that always stays one of our core tenets, everything else is just going to keep getting bigger and better.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely.
Build, inspire, create.
True.
Build, inspire, create. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us for another episode of the Brick Lounge presented by SC Bricks. And until next time, bricks down.
Bricks down.